As soon as 64 tetrahedron grid is globed around a thing in itself, ding and sich, or sich, ding and sich, or an idol, or a Buddhic body, or a pineal pom-pom of a meditating mole. It's a Descartian basically term that has geophagically expelled the fabric and internalized his, her, itself inside the itching sphere, and then that's why we get the thing in itself, or basically dark matter in dark energy, which are both sides of the same emptiness. And that emptiness is empty because I to the power of 2 equal to -1, that is an imaginary number, as we call it. And then I to the power of 2 equal to +1, that is a real number or a natural number. And so both of them together are covering two sides of 1 0, and that's why the thing in itself, or the non-dualism of Advaita school of Hindu Helions, that different basically, this one is nothing in itself, or that's for the Kant term, the thing in itself, or ding and sich, or sich. The idea is that once you can imagine this, and then you can imagine this, then both of them are invalid. And that's why the numbers were just there from the beginning to conquest the nature, and that nature is the nature in Advaita school that is talking about non-dualism, and that non-dualism is coming through absolute irrationality that can imagine to such a wicked level. This is schizophrenia. This is mathematical schizophrenia. And if this mathematical schizophrenia is not considered as a mental condition, then sodomy is not going to be considered as a mental condition. And nothing will be considered as that, because everything for a zombie is nothing but emanations of nothing, or om, or zero sound, absolute this. And that's what a samadhi or a samudic psychopath is trying to stick and adhere and dharma and keep to it. That's why they're always talking about non-dualism. The non-dualism, or the thing in itself, is of Advaita school, is basically, or the Atman equal to Brahman, is all that is being used in the lower cone of the BDCTN model, because these orangutans, all that they can do is that they are entrapped and prisoned in alpha to omega realm, and they have no idea about the realm of protos to eschatos, or the realm of the heart, that from the protos to eschatos is under the salam, shalom shower of Allah. And that's why a Hindu piece of filth, or a tian, or a clay, or a nehesh, which means omnious copper, or brazen metal, brass metal, is nothing but a part of that alpha to omega part. And so when they are talking about non-dualism, all that they can do is to get to the Boaz Bass or to the mind mod, and then say that, all right, the dark matter that I am is equal to the dark energy that my fartful pharaoh or Buddhic baboon is, and so Atman is equal to the Brahman. That's all that they can do. Whether a monkey in my size or a King Kong in the size of Barack Hussein Obama, we are both part of the same nothing. And that non-dualism is coming because of this, because of ill imagination. And that's why God says imagination is abomination. Because imagination is basically, or a man, it is like a manhole that is looking from two perspectives to the same zero or to the same Maya mirage. However, the thing is that alpha to omega has not banged at by itself, and the alpha to omega has come into such level of complexity in consciousness because of a bell bang of the mega bell, or the Christ cup of the Creator, or the Ruh of the Creator, that in Genesis 1:2, that has banged in the middle of darkness or absolute death. And so once that happens, then you cannot say I to the power of 2 is equal to -1, although you can imagine it, because that's the nature of the imagination. Now go and imagine as much as you want and build your toys based on this imaginary number. However, again, this eventually, once the truth is what rip apart the spider ritual thinking and imagination that has the audacity to put itself in itself and say that there is no dualism. And so as soon as 64 tetrahedron grid is globed around a thing in itself of Kant, or Kant cult of Kant, or an idol, or a Buddhic body, or a pineal pom-pom of a meditating mole that has geophagically expelled the fabric and internalized her itself inside the I Ching sphere, then every point of his or her or its toroidal thinking or rotary rational both sends and receives the Kundalini current. That's it. It becomes only, all that exists is nothing but a current of neural fire in the nadi network of that orangutan. For them, the neurological system of the nadi network of the Narayana water in chimpanzee is all that exists there, because that's all that alpha to omega mind mod comprises of. However, again, once something from outside comes, that is coming from dualism into non-dualism, then everything will change, and then you cannot make these kind of imaginations. The same imagination that can imagine there is no religion is the imagination that imagines I to the power of 2 equal to -1. Inside this Taoist cocoon of curse conception, everything is relativized to the zeroed zombie, or Zilch, or the Zenning Zilch. We call this as a bodhisattva that has reached to absolute oblivion and moksha or Phrygian into nirvana, and now is making philosophy out of that, is making mathematics out of it, is making physics out of it, is making chemistry out of it. Just goes to conquest the nature or the alpha to omega realm by a mind that is beholding from the beginning. That's part of the technique in the Heji, that that I to the power of 2 equal to -1 is as valid as I to the power of 2 equal to +1. And so that's why none of them are valid. What is valid is love, and that is basically outside of the realm of numbers and measurement. And this Hari homogenization is the Achilles heel of the Taoist theory of relativity. Again, theory of relativity is a manifestation of the thought and math technique and teaching of looking at the 64 tetrahedron grid or the cosmos, or the universe, the lower cone, or Kashyap, to their students, because their students are the magicians that they cannot do anything unless they believe in non-dualism or the thing in itself. And once you go into the Kant cult of Khers Krishna Scratch, and then you believe in that curse, and then you interiorize, and then you become a zero that is one with the zero of dark matter and dark energy, then you can do all that Taoist zombies and then the Zen masters of Dishitian have been doing it. That's where the real source of the, you want to lift up the stones, you want to break the stones, you want to walk on the needles, you want to basically no matter how much you push the curtains of the conception, for you it is nothing but a conception, and it is nothing but another form of Maya mirage. And so you can do it, because the Maya mirage is not a system that can gives you values, is not a system that can tell you what is beauty and what is ugly, because there is such thing is not actually defined in that realm. The only way that the beauty or truth or justice or the good, all of these things are coming from the realm that is not in the universe or in the lower cosmos. And that's part of the non-dualism, of the dualism, of the godly dualism that we call it protos to eschatos, or eschaton level of the consciousness. And that is the consciousness that can get the consciousness to upgrade itself. A retro consciousness is a consciousness that, instead of growing and overcoming the crux of the consciousness, collapses. Instead of that, it collapses into its self weight and back into itself. And then it tries to get as many people to think in the same way and become victims of the thing in itself, because that's the mentality that, again, that's the condition that Harut and Marut or Tat and Mat are actually telling to the people, that we're not gonna sell you any magic unless you disbelieve. And in order to disbelieve, you have to put everything, you have to become the God, and you have to become everything. And so God has to become one with everything. And so in order to do that, the only platform for that is absolute death or darkness or zero. That's why these people are so much fascinated with nothing, or with zilch, or with a blank hole. And all of their physics, their chemistry, their philosophy, their worldview, their cursed religion is dharmaing to nothing. And although they are giving thousands of different amenities and facilities and technological progresses and whatever, all of these are actually not giving us more widened widths of consciousness, but they are all in fact bringing us back into the cosmic egg of vanity of the serpent, and are trying to closes that upon us. That's why God says that if I don't bring the hour earlier, not a single one of you will remain from the animals of the farm that can challenge this collapse into of thing in itself, of any shy into itself. And every shy or everything is alpha to omega, and or alpha to omega letter, or the mod, and or dark matter and dark energy. And so this is how again, relativity is a part of important is a very important manifestation of this ancient illusion that Harut and Marut were requiring their customers or the magicians to buy that in the very beginning. And that is that you have to disbelieve, you have to neglect the protos to eschatos, or God, or dualism. And once you reject dualism and then you disbelieve in dualism, then you can screw around with and play around with the realm of yourself, or your dream, or your mind, or your imagination. And all of these imaginations are supposed to be a part of a big fart cloud of fractal flatulence that they call it Mandelbrot hologram and fractal. And that is supposed to be the Buddhic body that has given its bodhisattvas to, like valves, punch, make holes in the collective psyche of our species, in order to drain the wine, the primordial wine, or Christ's thirst that was poured into our collective heart picture, all of us together becoming one cosmic egg or one heart pitcher that actually is not empty, but it has a liquor in it, and that is the thing that must be disbelieved and turned into non-dualism. And in order to do that, you can only samadhi or didomai or didi, or take deed or view only at zero. Just keep looking at zero and then guess as much as you want, or zen as much as you want, in order to reach to that zero. That is the how the dark forces in history are using the time in order to get into annihilation. And this Hari homogenization is the Achilles heel of the Taoist theory of relativity of Einsteinian ideal. The Achilles heel of the retard narrative of relativity is the ancient technique that the Freemasonic psychopaths of the Buddhists have been using throughout the history, and that Talmai technique is the homogeneous blending or homosexual mixing or checkerboarding the truth with false, or making removing the duality of beauty and ugliness, and say love is love, and then or the beauty with ugly, or love with LGBTized hate, the rocky real with a funky foamy fantasy, the good with gay. Before getting to the Taoist trick of Einsteinian magician, let us read a Rozahi love line about this Freemasonic checkerboarding. Asura 2 verse 42, one of the very famous verses. Vala talbisul haqq. You have to go from right to left for reading this. Vala talbisul haqq hakak hagios hukhta in Avestan language, and don't dress the holy or the truth or the word with letter, with sound, bebatel, with falsehood, with batel, bad body abados, abadoni batel, wala taktumul haqq wa antum ta'alamun, and don't deny that, and don't mix dress checkerboard. That's the checkerboard in the Freemasonic checkerboarding. The only way that you can kill the light is not to reject the light, but to put two blacks around it and then say, well, no, I accept light, but I also accept the blackness. And that means that I don't care about neither this nor that, nothing. I only care about this, zero. I only care about creation, transformation, and destruction. That is because my God is the God of destruction, or Shiva, or that has helped me to come back to zero. And by giving me the power of zero is provoking me, as we read in Genesis chapter 3 verse 22, or Holy Quran chapter 7 verse 20, that you can attack to the heaven by sticking to the zero, because the ultimate dream of the zero is to make the heaven zero, as we will read in Ezekiel 13 38 and 39. And so when 0 becomes too big, the only thing that remains for the 0 to devour is 1. That has been always the nightmare for that 0, and just being there poking the 0 that you want to repent, but 0 doesn't understand repentance. 0 is just bullying and getting bigger and bigger. 0 adds more zeros in front of each other, and don't mix and dress and checkerboard the good reality, beauty, truth, word with bad and Buddhic falsehood, lie, or conceal the good reality, beauty, truth while you know about your relativity retardation of rigid and rocky reality, and stick out your tongue like Guru Einstein and mock and sneer. Isaiah 57 verse 4 is talking about why the people of the Kali or Khali or hollow means empty in English, in Persian, in Arabic, in Hebrew, and in Sanskrit means empty. And all that they are trying to do is to get you to buy their emptiness or vanity or non-dualism. Why? Because Tat and Mat or Harut and Marut or Heket and Hermes will not give to these people jack filth unless they buy this idea of non-dualism and rejecting the Alpha to Omega as well as the Protos to Eschatos. And so once that is removed, that's why they're number one. That's why this imagination at its very high imagines what? Imagines that if I is equal to the power of 2 is equal to -1, then imagine there is no religion, imagine there is no whatever you want to say, but again, that is how you can sell rock and roll albums, because the imagination of our species has already been retarded to the point that it accepted what the pigs are telling or imagining as I to the power of 2 equal to -1. If you can imagine this, and you can also imagine the real number or the natural number, then you can conquest the nature by this 0 and get the nature to collapse into your 0. And once you do that, then you can stick our tongue out and mock the people that have been sticking and remaining faithful to the Haq Hagiyos Hakak Hukhta Ta'ala. And so that's why it's, and then this piece of filth stick out his tongue and mock and sneers, as we read in Isaiah 57 verse 4, talking about the tongue of the Kali or Khali or Khala, means vacuum of the space in Arabic or Persian means Khala or Khali or Kali. At the Islamo-Christian humans and holy honey ships and simple-minded, beautiful hearts of heaven. These are the children of the heaven. They don't know what the hell is going on here. They are going, the best day of their life, of their week is their Sunday or their Friday or their Saturday, the day that they just keep tapping on this Haq Hagiyos Hukhta Khakak, and that's it. You are nothing but children of transgression, offense, or fush, mufsidun, fashad. what we have as fasha or fasha in Hebrew is coming from fosh in Persian and Hebrew, and then that goes into Arabic, becomes fasad or mufsidun. That's why we call these Yajuj and Majuj, or Gog and Magog, or Hom, Yahmum and Hamim, Yahmum and Mahmum, as Isaiah 57 verse 4. Remember that. And so these are the same as Holy Quran 18 verse 94. These are the people of transgression. That also we read about them in Romans 1 verse 27, 6, 7, 8, I think. The ones with the reprobate mind. These are the retard anomalies, and these are the people of fasad, or people of a retard mentality. These are the people of the reprobate mind. Romans chapter 1 verse 28, or the reprobate mind. And statistically, statistically pierced seed of lie, falsehood, Krishna pig, or we call it Sakar. The Sukara, that is the feast of the Buddha beast, at its last night before its death, is the Sukra that this piece of filth gave to its apostles. We call it Shakar, or Shakar in Hebrew, and we call it Sakar in Arabic, and in Holy Quran it is mentioned in 74, 26, 27. That is the pig meat that Jezebel is eating. Isaiah 57 verse 4. And so that is the falsehood, whose cravings are to eat from Sukra Modava, or Sakar Modavat, from Sanskrit, Arabic, Persian, all saying the same thing, as well as the Hebrew for Madava, as well as the Sheker for the pig meat, or the Krishna pig that will be killed very soon by Christ, according to hadith of Prophet Muhammad, and his cross, or his swastika, will be broken. And so what the hell this Krishna pig is saying is basically this Shukra Modava, which means Modava means medication, or in another word they call it Buddha medicine. Okay, this is the counterfeit of the Last Supper of the Christ in cult of baboons of vanity. And so let us read about relativistic reasoning of Einsteinian metal smith. This piece of filth that, like many thousands of bodhisattvas or digits, is given Nobel Prize, and has statues made like his funky figure, is actually what we call it as a metal smith. And also according to Holy Quran and biblical terminology, these are idols. Idols are not statues of stone and wood. Idols are the raised digits with 4 fingery handbreadths of dark matter or mud that are cooked by oxygen, fire, and so they have turned into metalsmiths that go into or Canaanians or Canaanites, or the dried minerals, canis, that are in Manipura pit. They are also called as Kunda or Kundizunti. In which, and so let us read about the relativistic reasoning of Einsteinian metalsmith, in which Achilles' heel of his Taoist theory is implicitly implanted. Einstein and Infeld in the Evolution of the Physics in 1938 in the Scientific Book Club and Company Ltd, page 224, says that can we formulate physical laws so that they are valid for all CS or coordination systems? Not only those moving uniformly, but also those moving quite arbitrarily relative to each other. If this can be done, our troubles will be over. We shall then be able to apply the laws of nature to any coordination system. This coordination system is talking about the Ola Alam al-Mumaddada, or the pillars that are rising the heaven and earth's sky, and that is the Christ, or the two horns or corneas of the Zulqarnain, or the double cornea one. And so all that zero is trying to do is to make a coordination system that can be applied, or a zero that can go to war with one, because one is bothering the zero that is trying to dharma to zero, and that's why it is trying to find something that can be applied to that coordination system. The struggle so violent in the early days of science between the views of Ptolemy and Copernicus would then be quite meaningless. All right, so either coordination systems could be used with equal justification. That is where the non-dualism of the Advaita school, or the thing in itself of Kant, is coming. The two sentences that the sun is at rest and the earth moves, or the sun moves and the rest is at rest, would simply mean two different conventions concerning two different coordination systems. Could we build an absolutely real relativistic physics valid in all coordination systems? The only relativistic physics that can be valid in all coordination systems means that, can we make our zero too big that it can validate itself in everywhere? A mindfully spinning physics with a lack of stability of Asura 14 verse 26, in which there would be no heartful place for absolute, that is what is called as fix, Asluha Sabit, or Asura 14 verse 24 and 27. It's talking about Qawl Sabit and Asl Sabit, the fixed trunk of tree of life, and then the fixed promise of God, and that promise is Christ. And what is that promise? That you're gonna go to see your Samad God, or the stationary absolute God. the singularity of Salam or Yasin Yasna Izad Yazdan Rahman. And that is the absolute that is in hearts of absolute steadfastness of Allahi Samad, Zamad, Samad, which means binded, the full boundary of Allah's singularity. That is not a black hole, it is a love. And we call that love as Arsh or Kursi or throne of God or face of God or eye of God. That is salaming. Meanwhile, that some orangutans are making these theories. And Samad or Samad, again, as I mentioned, means that you don't only make a boundary at one side. You don't only say Iya. You say Iya, Asher, Iya. You make the right to left and then left to right completely. You say this is completely isolated. That is the absolute isolation, and that absolute isolation can make an absolutely isolated manifestation or word or utterance of itself, like a clone of himself, that sanctifies the creation, and that is the Christ, and or the foundation of the trunk of tree of life, or Qawl Sabit of Surah 14 verse 27. That's why we say a potter is stationary, and that's why the pottery is stationary, and that's why it all goes back to the same stationary level. And so this relativistic physics that is valid in all coordination systems is basically that physics that says in Surah 14 verse 26, that is deliberately mentioned 2 verses after 24 in order to give contrast to the difference of the tree of knowledge of evil and tree of knowledge of good. That tree of knowledge of evil is bringing lack of stability, and that's why relativity eventually gets us to go to a haunted house of shrinking lenses, time dilation, a completely surrealistic like Dali's paintings, a surrealistic universe that is actually acid wash tripping haunted house of hairy ghosts, and so in which there would be no place for absolute. Okay, that is for them the absolute zero that they have made, or the absolute real relativistic physics, but only for relative motion and faint vibration of oming sound of or oming vibration. That this is indeed possible. Our newly renovated evil idea, da'at, idda'a of Genesis 2:9, is simple. To build an imagination or antenna, sarhan min awqadatin, that is mentioned in Surah 28 verse 38, or a schemed skyscraper, or that is annexation of the imagination, or the ethnostiani tau tower of cooked conception, whose I to the power of equal to -1 and I to the power of 2 equal to +1 based physics is valid for all coordination systems. And so he says that, like, but only for relativistic. This is indeed possible. Our new idea is simple: to build physics valid, that is valid for all coordination systems. And again, in such a way that it is tall enough to elongate and reach and look over the Isahi watchtower, because here the Pharaoh says that I want to go up and see the God of Moses, and so because he says that I am the God, and so this Buddhic baboon wants that, and in order to make that possible, that house of cards that goes up, you need the entire money of the planet, as much mass cultivation as possible in the planet, or ba'as, and as much as sex power that is possible in the sexy psyche, sexy Higgsy field of sex, or sex particles, or the minds. And so that is how all of these must be harnessed in order for the orangutan to build its Tian tower in the Alpha to Omega realm. In other words, the lower cone, the accursed creatures of the lower cone, they don't accept the thing in itself to be wrong, and what they do is that they make that itself bigger and bigger, and everyone is dying to make that self stinkier and stinkier. That is what they do. In such a way that is tall enough to elongate and reach to Isa Messiahi watchtower, or the Tao tower, or the aviated Hapoz or roof, or the Mannamunic lamp of Sultani Siraj. وَجَعَلْنَا سِرَاجًا وَهَاجًا سِرَاجًا وَقَمَرًا مُنِيرًا. That is why God says that I have placed a Holy Quran, or the Holy Book, that or a computer that is the only coordination system that gives registry and power to all of the programs in the system. And so the idea is to be able for these anomalies to, whether through telephoto range or through wide angle, go beyond the Aqtarul Arz or Tarful Arz, or the triptoroposy diameter of the earth in imagination, as well as the length. And again, for that you need a physics that can have this kind of basis, and that basis is zero, or mathematics that is working on such kind of imagination. And so Achilles heel of the relativistic physics of the blacksmithy Einstein, of Shiva Ziva Zeus is in Taoist tendency of interiorizing everything and lumping all of the coordinate systems into absolute nirvana, absolute uncertainty, tamuzi turmoil, absolute darkness that is full of evil indifference due to lack of love light. The Allahi Aleshia, or Ellata, and Ruhi Reasona, that I give the attribution of bidirectional or bidirectional double conic theoneurological model arc of consciousness, or BDCTN, is that these two directions are not the same. My worldview is not a new thing. This model is the dualistic, completely dualistic worldview, are not the same and must be distinguished from each other. Consciousness is not one directional. That is the hubris and arrogance of bunch of yogi monsters that assume that they are God, or their Atman is the Brahman, or the Brahman is their Atman. And so consciousness is in lingual communication with is in lingual communication with Creator. Cured consciousness has opened up from being in the cursed closure of a meditating, masturbating mind, so that it can language the speak up and make legacy love with Love Lord. Just as eating soma and manna clash khalas classes ikhlas khalas the soma, or detoxed mushroom, or denuclearized mushroom, would result in two different aperture opening triptopus onsets, all of the mushroom eatings would result in living and falling from Yabeshi dry land of the Revelation 10:2, or these three verses, or Luke 5:3, of the surface earth or the beta brainwave into dark waters of the lower cone or deep earth or salty sea, or delta brainwaves of the less than 4 Hz frequency, unless otherwise is decreed and forgiven from above. In other words, bidirectional indicates that BDCTN bridge is the heavenly gateway that has his own mushroomy mindset and Allahi agenda, an absolutely independent logos law that is not necessarily equal to mindset of fallen things into empty Egypt, or Babel borehole, or Wimperecy wilderness, or pottery pit. This bidirectional BDCTN bridge of Barzakh, another name of the Christ is the Barzakh, or the barrier of Genesis 1:6, or here that is what we call it as Bina or Bayan. Okay, that's where the Bina or the Bayan comes. Is if you come to Genesis 1:6, then you can see here that God divided this dividing the waters in the midst of the waters from the waters, and changing of the quality of these two waters separate from each other is basically what we call it as, here is the bane, yes. And so the and it divided the waters, but this divided is badal bain. This bain is Hebrew 9:9:6, is what we call it as bayan, or talk, or distinguishing or understanding, and distinction, or we call it as between, and that is the Christ. And God said, let there be firmament. This is the raqiya, or the pen, and then the pen writes on the tablet, or Tarshishi tablet, or the Logesi lamp, and that Logesi lamp is in the midst, above the waters. Okay, and then let that Christ, let that qawl sabit, or the fixed promise, or the promise plate, or the tablet, or the barzakh, or where is the barzakh? Here, or the barzakh, boulder, barrier, divider, prohibition, partition, hijran, mahjura. Let him what? Let him divide the waters from the waters. And so one water is the lake of burning fire, that is at the moment the triple layers of the darkest smoke, or condensed mercurial toxic gas, fume, fartful fume of the Buddhic belly. And the waters are what we call them as the sweet waters, or heavenly waters, or sweet Seresh waters of Anahata temple, or the Holy Spirit temple. And so this bi-directional BDCTM bridge of Barzakhi boulder barrier acts like a doorway that whenever it is opened from outside, from where the hell we are, from outside Galilee Garden Ignite, it opens again to outside. Like it is a door that once you open it, then you see that it was just a door. It is nothing. It doesn't do anything. It only boosts you up in two things. Har, as we read in our Surah 16 verse 81, har, or heat, the sixth heat of the red root chakra, as well as the mind power, bas, or increases your intelligence. But you are still in the same hellhole, and you are still in the same mortal mansion. Although you are getting extra power, whether sexual power or psychic power, or you get extra mind mass that can affect the individuals around you, the reality around you, all of these things. And so that is like opening of a door with a frame that has no wall, in the middle of nowhere. You open it and then you see you are still in the middle of nowhere, like in a desert. Just a door with a frame. This is the bi-directional BDCTM bridge. If you open it, if we open it from the lower corner of the BDCTM model, and so it opens from the outside, it opens again to outside Galilee Garden Ignite, like a wall-less and lonely door in the middle of nowhere. But whenever it is miraculously opened from inside, from the inside, love light above, or from above of the Allah humming life, or the Eden eternity, behind the door, behind this mushroom, is like that, or this BDCTN bridge to the outside, then again so the decree of Allah, owner of the Shekinah Sakina house, comes, and then it reaches to the Holy Spirit, and then it reaches to the Jesus janitor, or the doorkeeper, that is also at the very protos, not only at the eschatos but at the protos. He receives it, and then shares it with the rest of the creation. They accept it because they want to open a door to a filth in the hellhole. Stinky with nail, or the sandals that are muddy, all of that things. We are the problems. They good for them. They have they're making love with Allah, but and so lovingly Allah orders, and then they open, and so once the Holy Spirit approves, then again the decree reaches to the Christ, and then the door opens from that side, and suddenly this door in the middle of nowhere with a frame that you go, and if you open it, you are still in nothing, in zero. Suddenly this door miraculously open from inside or Eden eternity to the outside, Galilee Garden Ignite or Fallen Death or History Hall, then there it appears the Isahi, the door disc of judgment, and then the purpose comes, and then they say, well, we now have a business to do with you. And that is what I have been shown on Laylatul Qadr, and that is the night of the decree. That is the night that I am going to see again, to be tossed into hell or into heaven. Allah knows best. And so that is the appearance of Isahi Deidordis, or Book of Life, mercifully, only by the mercy and love of God, without any need, without needing a filthy sack of sickness to go and participate in Ruhi revelry, only because of the love. The Isahi door opens it and then tells that your reality has been hijacked, brother, or a slave. This Buddha beast Dracula has disempowered you by giving you mind power and sex power, and for both of these he is billions of times more stronger than you. But what is that door is the bi-directional, and again completely dualistic, because it opens that, and that miraculous way, a style of messianic opening of Alif Lam Mim. Alif Lam Mim that I'm talking about, it is here. We go to Surah Al-Baqarah. This is Alif
Lam Mim.
Allah Logos Messiah, Allah Logat Masih. And so when it reaches to Mim or Mashiach, and the Lam or the Logos, and Allah is the Alif in Alpha, or the Alif in, means author, or Yu'allif. We will look at it in detail, but when it reaches to the Mim, then it is the anointment, and it is when the door of the Eden opens, that is actually all the time open, and from him the 12 currents, or in fact the 4 rivers that are in fact one river, and in a series of 4 rivers, or 12 rivers that are in series relationship with each other, but all together on one river from the door of the Eden, coming and memes anoints as the Kauthar ethery spring upon the hellhole. And that's why Christ says, I am the light of this hellhole. I am the door that can miraculously open to this nowhere. And then once that memes comes, the anointment comes upon you. And that's the, again, and once and then this miracle is what just makes these retard reptiles and cockroaches of Rama, of ram fanning or ram phoneticking, ram 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 ramming mother feet suckers, are basically makes them crazy, because that is the realm of the miracle. That is where the mind, no matter how much powerful it is, remains way behind and it cannot do anything. And that, again, that miracle is the mercy. And the only way for them to go to war with the miracle by their magic is to make the magic bigger and bigger, to the point that now we make relativism and black holes and lens contraction, time dilation. All of these are necessary, although all of these are not real, in order to make that possible for the mind to go to war. That is what soma does and provokes to jealousy. This bidirectional or bimodal behavior of believing, of belief breach or messianic mirror or glass in an interrogation room, that it either mirrors you and then you opens it and then you are still in you in the same darkness, just like there are all the shadows, mortal shadows in the darkness. Or it can become a glass that receives the light from the other side and transfuse it or pass it to your side like a door, and then you see the only one God, and then the Holy Spirit and the Christ are lined up together. And then you know, and then the dark room is turned on, and then you know that the one who are the ones that are basically investing for eternity and making love by prostrating toward that glass salam screen, and who are the losers that are lost in themselves. They think that after taking a mushroom and opening that door, they have entered into a new realm, but they are still in the same rabbit hole that they were before. They are just burning manning. This bidirectional or bimodal behavior of belief breach or messianic mirror or glass is absolute independent from Rama rat hole of relativistic reptilians. Bidirectional, by reptilians I'm talking about the real little green man's mentality that has taken over the interface of a human. Bidirectional BDCT and bridge can act like a closed loop 22 or curved link that gets the crossing chimera and Helions to end up in the first pitfall place, as if both sides of the bridge are two parts of 1 0. And so these two directions are not the same and must be distinguished or bayyanat, and that is when the Adam learned the talk, or must be discerned from each other in such a retrieved wordway that kull shay'an, or all things of 27-23, as well as here, whether good or evil, words, kalimatul khabisa or kalimatul tayyiba, the evil proclamation and curing, or the doctor or good proclamation, or the healing proclamation, are given to Gaia, Gap, Galilee Garden, Vayu Void, or empty earth, or the hellhole, to provide them with pottery paste or energetic vibration or akashic space or plain page. And they are also given to Christ the Karimi pen, potter's hand, lampi rain cloud, forming and fashioning and writing computer, to provide them with cause code, with destined course, with registry account, with causal key, with alashiyai allati maqalid or kalid or kalida, kleida, in Arabic, Persian, Greek. Relativity, idea, da'at, iddia, idea, iddia, da'at are coming from the same root. Of Einsteinian mouthpiece of little horn of Daniel 7:8. Again, forget about the Salman Rushdie, okay? These pieces of filth has bigger mouthpieces to talk out the fat toxic fart that is in his psyche, and one of them is like the Einstein or the Copernicus or the Galilei or the Plato or you name it, the Kant, sells the half-truths about Vayu Void of nothingness, or wine press of energetic zero, in which all coordinate systems are relativized to absolute zero, or salty sea of sacred sound, or absence of word and meaning and language. That like all coordination systems and all the programs in the computer, they are all demanding energy package from the power plant, but they forgot to say the other half of the truth. And once you have the truth, then the other half, then by giving half truth, you are killing the truth, because two half of the truth cannot become one truth. Truth is outside of the realm of numbers, and so, but the other half that must be added to this half to make something that is beyond these two halves is the fact that all the programs, before they require power from the power plant or a space or in the plain page, they are written, and so that's why they require a space. And so a program exists, and in that existence it is asking or requiring a certain amount of energy to be given, to be allocated by power plant to it, because it is written and exists. It is written by the pen of God. And so that is why that registry in the Christ computer gets the power plant to provide that program, whether virus or a healthy program, with power. And so if a relativistic reptile like Einstein of Rig Veda reading Einstein and Ramayana exalting orangutan that sticks his tongue out is basically or a Kali Khali is just levitizing all of the coordination systems to Kali, to Khali, to empty, zero. As Hindu metal Smith says, in the evolution of physics. That's what is happening. But again, they are missing the other part. However, this Rosicrucian reptile does not sell. If you want to know about the Rosicrucian, he goes with 2 roses to that metro station, and that is the sign that he has accepted to the rest of the initiation, passing the Freemasonic funky game that he has been involved. However, this Rosicrucian reptile or bodhisattva doesn't sell the other akhirati end of the earthly pit or the Babel boar or the Christ Karim lamp cause love light at the Isahi eschaton end of Trishula Shioli tunnel. That is the light at the end of the tunnel, or the light in the dark room. Just as chopping a human into 2 halves and superimposing the 2 dead halves will not result in a living human, 2 half-truths are not equal to the unique truth that is given to us by Qalbi Qur'ana. 5th question. How does the observed axis of evil in CMB scans put an end cosmic microwave background radiation, put an end to lifeful series of Buddhic Big Bang and Einsteinian relativity and Copernican principle? This one is coming from this, and this one is coming from relativity. What is so special about axis of evil that gets the evil ideology and cosmology of Khrs Krishna Eskharachi Little Horn to call it the axis of evil? It is the same monsters that make North Korea and Iran, put them in politically speaking as one axis of evil. However, the North Korea is another communist system that is made by the Jewish bodhisattvas of the Little Horn. And so the North Korea is not the problem. As you can see now, they are shaking hands and getting pictures. Just 5 million people were needed to be massacred. That is nothing for the Little Horn. This orangutan considers himself as a god of a planet with 7 billion people. And so, but again, that is how the Freemasonic checkerboarding works. In order to attack to Iran, that is the real one that is jeopardizing the integrity of that zero and its funky zero meditation, masturbation, silence, and by saying this to America or this to American body that is hosting the Antichrist virus that is now moved into Israel, his false Israel. In order to kill that Iran, you need Iranian resistance, Christian resistance, or Islamic resistance, or Zoroastrian resistance of that state. You need North Korea to put it with this one in one category and say, all right, they are belonging to the same axis of evil. The same monsters are the ones that come and call Hamas and Hezbollah as terrorists. But again, these are the real terrorists. And so let us answer the question, how does the observed axis of evil in CMB scans put an end to lifeful series of these 3? As for the axis of evil, or here you can see the image of the cosmic microwave background radiation, or the CMB, that these chimpanzees consider it as about 300,000 years after the Big Bang. And so there are different types of the filters that you can put it. This is the bipole anisotropy, and this is the octopole anisotropy, and here is the ecliptic plane of the Earth that is mapped around the universe, all around the universe. And this is the quadrupole anisotropy of the W map, a sky map in galactic coordination. Here is the spring equinox, this is the fall equinox, and then this is the ecliptic plane that we have. And this the black, blue part, and then the hot part or the red part, we can see it here as this is the north ecliptic and this is the south ecliptic. And so this is the fall equinox, this is the spring equinox here. You can wrap this in a spherical shape. And so axis of evil that spans the entire universe all along the CMB radiation. You can see this axis that is kind of making a distinct part between hot and cold parts. Axis of evil, the S-shaped belt around quadrupole anisotropy with ecliptic plane is the alignment, the perfect alignment of axis of evil, the S-shaped belt around quadrupole anisotropy with ecliptic plane is contrary with astray assumptions of Buddhic Big Bang, because according to Buddhic Big Bang it must be completely random and chaotic with no organized distribution of temperature. After the bigoted cosmology of Buddhism blindly rejected the alarming results of thousands of scientific and empirical evidences and well-documented observations that were backing up the stationary Earth of the scriptural geocentrism, it made the relativity ad hoc to back up its Copernican principle, so that monkey business can go on and turn into Big Bang fantasy that was necessary for the swastika to open its broken parts of its cross and fly into absolute ما لها في القرار, absolute lack of stability. And that lack of stability gives the amnesia that is necessary to get the victims to die in meditation, masturbation. Because that lack of stability brings vertigo, and the vertigo brings the amnesia. You become completely part of everything is moving in that rat hole of the Alice, rabbit hole, that Alice has fallen into it, and that is actually the rabbit hole that all of these philosophers and physicists have been there before. That's why they are selling it. Big Bang, it made the relativity attack to, and so Big Bang bullcrap needed another ad hoc hypothesis about 96 missing energetic cobra copper or muladrai menstruation or manipurai mass and gene fire of deep earth, or 96% missing dark matter and energy. That is what we call it as dark matter and energy, or the Agni fire, as well as the four elements of air, space, earth, and water. On surface earth, and so this bullcrap needed another ad hoc hypothesis about 96% missing matter and energy on surface Earth, or so-called universe, so that it could cunningly continue to operate based on a stray assumption of homogeneous expansion of time-space continuum or isotropic distribution of CMB temperature. However, a Sloan Digital Sky Survey, or SDSS 2000 to 2009, showed that there are 7 concentric shell structures that are around surface Earth, which are surface footprints of the 7 Baha'i Babs, or 7 chakra cities of aliens, or 7 chakras of wine press of Canaanite minerals, or 7 qariyas of Shinari Shambhala shaft of alien vampires. This observation is contrary to the astray assumption an isotropically expanding emptiness, to the astray assumption of an isotropically expanding emptiness, because it is supposed to expand the emptiness in an isotropic way without any ordered abrupt changes in density of dark matter and dark energy. In addition to SDSS results, which were contrary to Buddhic Big Bang, images of cosmic microwave background radiation that were taken by COBE satellite, Cosmic Background Explorer 1989 to 1992, and then by WMAP, or Wilkinson Microwave and Anisotropy Probe of 2001 to 2003, and then by Planck Space Probe of 2009 to 2013, turned to be contrary to the Big Bangian belief system, which is based on isotropically expanding emptiness. It was in this very recent time, that is why the sun rises from the west at the year that I died, because we are all part of 10 major signs, and saying that scripturally pointing that what the hell is wrong with these theories and what is right about this finding of axis of evil. What is the scriptural significance of axis of evil that is supposed to be said by the Dabbatul Arz, or the 2 witnesses of Book of Revelation? We are all part of the 10 major signs of the hour of the wrath of God and extermination of our species. And so that is why it is in this very recent time, 6 years ago, where I died too. That early data from Planck satellite confirmed the CMB scans of WMAP of 2000 in 2000. That its operation, its mission was done in 2003 probe, as well as the COBE probe that its mission was finished in 1992 of WMAP and COBE satellites. The observed axis of evil in WMAP was expected to be related to foreground contamination or scanning beam anomalies of WMAP probe. That's why the first excuse, the first hiding place that some fans of the Big Bang Theory found to the defense system to defend their funky theory. And so all of these three trials of modern cosmology expected to be related foreground contamination or scanning being anomalies of WMAP probe. However, Planck satellite proved it to be correct, and there was no noise or no anomalies there, and they are pretty much matching each other. Actually, that is the incentive that they sent the Planck satellite after WMAP. All of these three trials of modern cosmology, which were sent by two independent teams from NASA and European Space Agency, came back with the same result. Observed CMB radiation of these probes does not define a center, but instead an axis that spans the entire visible universe or the surface Earth of the mosaic mask mansion. The surprising fact about this discovered axis that makes it to be called axis of evil is that its direction all along the universe, that these orangutans call it 13.7 billion light years in diameter, is aligned with 23.5 degree tilt of the ecliptic plane of our stationary Earth, the plane of annual rotation of Sun around a stationary Earth. The fact that these cosmic alignments are correlated to our earthly neighborhood is highly difficult to explain and whitewash and sweep under the rug from within the ashtray assumptions of Big Bangian cosmology that was built by Buddhistic little horn of Daniel 7:8. As we were told, that is how you change the times and everything, and then suddenly in a human scale history, you suddenly start talking about 13.7 billion billion years, and what the hell is that? As we were told in end-time education systems of Abudanic planet or Abudan infected planet, our earthly neighborhood was supposed to be at an insignificant corner of a cosmic accident that had to collapse into its dharmic void. All of the humans, things, words, and ruhi values, beauties, justice, truth, sacrifices were supposed to be foamy flatulences and funky parts that are relativized to the evil interiorization and fractal fantasy of a schizotic psychopath that is seated in an abdominal gas that looks like Buddha-brotic Mandelbrot and sounds as stinky as umming sound. Lahu besautek or lahu besautan khovar, that he had However, when this Nimrodic nightmare of little horn's dharmic dream is distributed by an observed axis. However, when this Nimrodic nightmare of little horn's dharmic dream is distributed by an observed axis, then it's poking because again the sun never remains behind the cloud, that points to the vine-worded pots whose logos locality and shine shalom airs is slicing his dirty dream, which is as lotusly long as 13.7 billion light years. Then this Harry hallucination gets his scientist goats to call it axis of evil and comment on it by saying that, is this Copernicus coming back to haunt us and our heliocentric hallucination? Because again, this mentality is coming from ما له في القرار، ما له من قرار. It doesn't have a stability. That's the fruit of Tilly of knowledge of evil, that is rooted on and not only rooted but also pointed at both ends to what? Zero. Samadhic to zero. That's crazy. We're looking out at the whole surface universe. There is no way there should be a correlation of a structure with our motion of the earth around sun. As this heliocentric chimpanzee is saying, the plane of the earth around sun, the ecliptic plane of sun around earth. That would say we are truly at the center of the surface universe that is laying as dry land in these references. Yabeshi dry land of deep waters, or the deep dark matters of Galilee Gardenic Mother Earth, or the Gaia Gap, or the Hell Lady that is going soon to devour this orangutan that is saying these garbage things, as well as the orangutans that has given to this orangutan scientific degree, as well as their Copernicus, as well as their little horny god, as well as his Einstein and his crippled Stephen Hawking all together. The new end time news and results are either telling us that all of the heliocentric science is wrong, which is the case, and scientific Ouroboros has beaten its tail, and then you need Trump to make some political noises by shaking hand with this or other orangutan in North Korea, in order that you can divert the public attention from thinking and about the significance of this, which is talking about the hadith of Prophet Muhammad, the sun rising from the west, because you have getting all the animals in the farm to think about that, to accept it twice. And scientific Ouroboros has beaten its tail, and both of the double ties lies of the sun rising from the west of Q258 are opened, and Rocky Truth has come out from behind the flatulent cloud of the golden calf, and we are so close to Isahi event horizon of Judgment Day, or the rising into our mental horizon of ignorance and denial and denial and denial. And we are the center of the surface universe, or the visible matter and energy that is the 1/3 of the iceberg that is rooted on the 2/3, or in fact 85% missing, 96% missing dark matter and dark energy that must be there, so that we can see the current angular momentum of the galaxies that are actually rotating 10 times slower than what the formulas of matter and energy universe are giving us, in which sun turns clockwise around Earth. Or maybe the data is simply incorrect. which was reaffirmed later on by Planck probe, that because this commentary is when the Planck probe was not set, only W map was sent. This hopeless probability was the reason that they sent a third satellite. Or maybe it is telling us there is something weird about microwave background result, and that maybe there is something wrong with both of the fictitious rotations in our heliocentric theories on the larger scale. Lawrence Carcass, something in 2006. And so this is how the so-called axis of evil, that like a circular belt turns all the way around the quadrupole and octupole anisotropy, alignments of L equal to 2 and 3 of the CMB sphere with 13.7 billion black light years in diameter. Again, the light, this is just dark light. What we call it, the light, is in fact another form of darkness. The real light is love. That is in the garden of abstract objects. You cannot see it here. You can only feel it when a mother loves her son or daughter, or other parts, other emanations, other mirrors of that love that is coming from Allah, his source of love. And so of CMB sphere happens to line up, and so this is how the so-called axis of evil, that like a circular bird turns all the way around the this anisotropy alignments of the CMB sphere, happens to line up with 23.5 degree direction of our ecliptic plane. After sending 3 different probes, this is the end of 2 lined up lies of Copernican principle that were designed to cancel out evil effect of each other. Once monolithic picture of swastika set science is demolished, and its 2 Buddhic bluffs of sun rising from the west, فَأَتَبَهَا مِنَ الْمَغْرِبِ. And so if you can bring it up from the Maghreb, from the west, that's what Abraham says to Nemrut. And then Nemrut goes to make a scientific community and funds that scientific community that gets the minds to accept such thing, are blown away. Then the Abrahamic set reality of sun rising from the east. Allah is the one that brings the sun from the east. If you can go bring it up from the west, and turn around the stationary earth every 24 hours. One turn will appear to make corporeal sense for the end-time humans who were suffering from nausea, amnesia, that foamy formulas and monkey mathematics of the blacksmiths of the Krishna scratchy consciousness have been inducing in them. We can sense very small earthquake. We can sense very small earthquakes on the surface of the earth. However, nonsensical science of the Soma set primates of the Sama'eli North has gotten us to believe in 2 rotational motions that are not really out there. We don't even feel the corporeal difference that must exist between our angular motions at equator and celestial poles. If Earth is turning around itself, then that you have your feelings must be different in the equator once you go up there. because up there in the celestial poles it must be zero motion, but the feelings is the same. That is why these Vishnuic wolves or genius giants and Ganesha gangsters and ill Israelis with Shiva, Ziva, Zeus, Sud, flesh Philistines are sticking out their tongues at the innocent gullibility and childish credulity of Abrahamic ships, who are bewildered by Alice in Wonderlandy wonders of Egyptos, which means wonder. That is why the two companions of the wonderful Wardah, Ajib Watera of Izad Yasin Yasna Izad Yazdan Rahman, have come to Egyptian wonderland of sinking ego or the ego farm to tell to the lamps Zion lady or the exiled Israel to come out, die, give birth into eternity, slip away, mortar, martyr, ooze, soul out, or the salal out, from birth pains, escape, rapture up, deliver, ejaculate, cast out, or fetus nataf, or melt out, malat out of Zechariah 2:6. We also have it in Book of Revelation, chapter 18, verse 4, that die and come out of it. From the doom descend into maelstrom whirlpool of foaming falsifications of little horn, or northern vertigo of gyrating Babel funnel, or nausea amnesia, or sleeping and dying in cold lies of Rama reptiles. Thanking Allah, God, for merciful meat of every moment on a stable and stationary earth, is what Hindu heliocentrism of Mitra Surya is stealing from you. This stability is what Sufi sailors of Tarshish Harbor Tablet Terminal admire a lot after they leave the beta brainwavy Maqam, mid-dryland, or the Yabas of surface earth, and dive into deep earth or dark matter and dark energy realm of Sidim Valley or Shadow Valley, where the dark matter and dark energy is. In the same way that God-forsaken science of Caesartic swastika have been attributing the plagues that requests of my Moses Salamonahi staff have caused by asking from Christ or Zulqarnaini, king of earth, to retard reasons like global warming and climate change and tectonic warming, scientists goats that run the science arm of Vishwarupa image of Krishna Schraj attribute the periodic change of days and seasons to coward cause that Copernican cosmology has cooked for them. Once axis of evil in CMB scans put an end to Big Bang bullcrap of Christian cosmology, then all that Abudan Capitan of sinking Vishwarupa could do was play with the distracting politics arms of his Vishwarupa image, which was masquerading the farceful meeting of Trump and Kim Jong-un from George W. Bushian axis of evil, that this orangutan said that this orangutan is part of the axis of evil, in which Iran was listed also as part of the axis of evil. However, that Iran is the one that says that is basically funding Hamas and Hezbollah and supporting the warriors of Christ and Imam Mahdi. Curse communism, zombies, Xi Jinping, and North Korean decoy are all designed by Marxists and Jewish Taoists of Budapest to serve the end-time King Kong of Planet Apes. This homosexual god of Jezebelian hatred uses economics arms and social engineering arms and media arm and thousands of other arms of his sinking Vishvarupa to disarm the humanity from reaching to Mahishasurahi's sword world of Eden. When evil ideology claims that something is evil, like axis of evil in Copernican cosmology, or axis of evil in its pervert politics, then it means that there is Tob Tayyebe truth, or good and beautiful and healing truth in there, something that these Freemasons are trying to checkerboard and rub it under the carpet. The Big Bang, the brain that can schizophrenically imagine I to the power of 2 equal to -1 and +1, can also get its double standard mentality to consider LGBT psychosis as a straight love. It can also make and fund Saddam Hussein and North Korean communism and then support them with its German and French chemical bombs and its Chinese nukes, so that by using and connecting these two evil points, which are self-built and supported and armed, it can draw the axis of evilly line that its propaganda's extension include the real Iranian enemy of Israeli communism and Jewish Taoism. As for Iraqi and North Korean points of Gini generalization of Dajjalic politics, we can see that its trumpetic turn ends up in shaking hand with Kim Jong-un comrade in common evil interest. And also its military-industrial complex uses Saddam Hussein as an evil excuse for devastating a Muslim nation that is rooted in Rakhruki religion of Allah. When Allah-phobic ego of empty earth Egypt negates something and tries to checkerboard وَلَا تَلْبَسُوا الْحَقَّ بِالْبَاطِلِ, it with self-built evil and Freemasonic falsehood, then it is a sign that there is a trace of truth in that Nimrodic negation. That is the Christian cause for both of the axes of evils that Krishnian cosmology and Parvatic politics are using. One axis of evil points toward geocentric fact of our universe, and another axis of evil comprises of Iran, Hamas, Hezbollah, Syrian forces of Ruh-Raqi resistance that point toward wiping off the Illuminati Israel from the maps of our universe. Contrary to Abdul Fattah el-Sisi that hypocritically shake hand with Netanyahu, horn of Dajjal, or Recep Tayyip Erdogan that plainly shakes hand with Dajjalic Obama, or Mohammed bin Salman, which runs the Saudi Arabian government of Gog, Iran, Hamas, Hezbollah, Syrian forces of George W. Bush and axis of evil are the only Islamo-Christian forces of resistance that are truly against Anu Hanumani, god of North Korean communism. Although many nations of governments hypocritically claim to have something to do with Islam and Christianity, however, their coward, fierce, and hypocrite actions are nothing but submissive surrender to Taoist god of Jewish Kabbalism. The paralyzed and plagued planetary body that hosts the Vishnuic virus and its human rights organizations are defined by defending the homosexual woods of hellfire, and is choked with Prometheus' venomous fire of Mount Olympus, and suffers from nausea of heliocentric vertigo, is failing time after time to attack militarily to pharaonic Israel of Shamari or Samaritans, or the Mesmars, or the nails watchers, numberers, etching styluses, which is giving rapture, deliverance, birth, salal souling out, or meltahing up, or malating of Zechariah 2 verse 6 and 7, to Rachel Allen Curry, to Amal al-Taramsi, and to Medic Razan al-Najar. Razan al-Najar, here you can see the links that I have placed for these heroes. She's a martyr, she's a pomegranate martyr in Christ the Karimi, Garden of God. The Rachel Corey and our brothers and sisters of rocky resistance in Palestine. This is the Press TV channel that YouTube of Antichrist has suspended, and sooner or later it is going to be removed, although their videos are still there. And Medic Razan al-Najar.
فخر وكل اعتزاز أنا حابة أكمل لآخري. المسعف رزان النجار، عمري 20 سنة. في الأول يوم كان بالنسبة لي أصعب يوم، تعرضت إلى 3 مرات اختناق بالغاز لطلق ناري في الظهر، ورفيقتي الممرضة إلى طلق ناري في اليد، والزميل برضو طلق صوت في الأذن، والحمد لله تم إسعافهم بشكل ميداني ورجعنا نكمل مسيرتنا، ما بعثناهم إلى المستشفيات، لا رجعنا.
Salam of Allah be upon our brothers and sisters in the Great March of Return. They are making a fascinating legend. Meanwhile, that orangutans are burning money and meditating and yogaing in this wicked brave new world of the Antichrist. And so these are the rapturing martyrs and the pomegranates, as well as 300 born baby bricks and killed kids in 2018 only. And holy heroes of the Great March of Return to real Jerusalem. Their march toward the occupied Jerusalem has ended up for them, has given them the gift of going to the real one. These are the winners of the end time, that have malated out, or that delivered or burst out into eternity. And this work is dedicated to martyrs of the Great March of Return. The more we get closer to the Isa Messiahi eschaton or Sultanahi hour, or retry vortex at the beginning and end of time-space, the more schizophrenic behavior will be demonstrated by Egyptian ego of empty ideology and survivalist psyche of Curse Krishna Scratch, which is sticking to the denial deck of sinking Vishwarupa in mind-made maelstromy whirlpool vertigo of the little horn. As a soldier's sword or partial pen rod rabdos from Imam Mahdi Hudus Yahudahi Mega Magariya Magarat of Isa Messiahi Rad Ra'dullah, or Zulqarnaini, owner of Iron Barzal, Iron Horn. I am here to give to Israeli Omran or Emran wife, amorous wife, that is at the Salam center of this universe, a Bismillahi Boke, whose Ismallah is the Rozahi Raptura, to your high holy fortress fiancé. It is time to spread the Rozahi red carpet of our jihadi blada under the firahi feet of our Christ the Karimi King. Rozahi Ahmada sallallahu alayhi wa sallam says in a Hadi hadith that two groups among my ummah would be such to whom Allah has freed from hellfire. One group would attack militarily to Diaus Ziaus Pitas India, that its end-time version is US and allies with Dark Durga dragonic statue of Lady Liberty that has put the Washington Monument obelisk Diablos inside herself, and has moved its embassy in May 2018, 14th of May 2018, from Tel Aviv to occupied Al-Quds. And then the second group would be that who would accompany Isa Messiah in his attack to Nazi-made Israel of fleshy Philistines, evil empire of Harmagedon, Magedon, Majadun, Jedi, Jaduni, scapegoats or magicians. This hadith shows us that end-time India of under Indra is the evil Israel that has hijacked the name of Israel. This second group, or Allahi army of Isa Messiahi Ruad or Ra'dullah, it's another name of Christ. Surah 13 is named after this name of Christ, or Revelation 2:27, 12:5, 19:15, and Genesis 3:24, comprised of three classes of truthful troops that will fight against Turkish army of Dajjal that Erdogan is deploying into Syria, as well as Egyptian army of LCC and Saudi Arabian army of Mohammed bin Salman, as well as Chinese and Russian and armies of Putin pet and Xi Jinping zombie of Barack Obama, as well as his NATO Slavs and his Israeli army and his Samadic yogi gurus and Kabbalistic shamans and yogi swamis and Taoists and Beelzebubi, Vimana, UFO or Merkaba meditation in orangutans and so on. All of them are going to war with Christ and Imam Mahdi. This move of the military from Turkey that at the surface for excuse of F-35 jets is making some news to the world to show falsely that it has a problem with Trump and Barack Obama and United States of America because of that airplanes, and meanwhile is taking selfies with Putin pet. They are all part of one gangster club, and that moving of the army to the Syria is part of the real incentive behind attacking to Syria. It is not because of oil, it is not because of political resources, it is not because of political interests or natural resources of Syria. The reason is that they are getting ready for Armageddon war against or going toward that other dimension or the clash that we have between these two membranes. It is advised to Islamo-Christian individuals or mercenary soldiers of these armies of Abaddon to come out of Revelation 18:4 or Book of Micah chapter 4 verse 13 of their units and join the jihadi forces of Ruhraki resistance. The three classes of truthful troops of Allahi army of Isa Messiah and Imam Mahdi comprises of 1. Asura Assyrian angels of ethereal Kothari mid-air, or victorious Rithras, iron tongue tool of 144,000 bird bead bell diamonds that are basically braided together. Revelation 19:21, or the pomegranate romance rosary iron chain شرشره شبکه اسواد of 12 Assyrian Shebat or Asbat, Asbatas of the second resurrection of Revelation 2:20, who come out from messianic mouse eye face disc door or the solar ceiling for 1 day, or the last day, 1,000-year-long day, to spray and sweep the Beelzebub flies of Harmageddon, Majadun, Jadai, Vine Press, Wilderness. Allah blesses this golden group in Isaiah 19 verse 25. We read about them as the Israel, and calls it 144,000 Assyrias. These are the safeguarding Sepah at Assyria, or at the Sapphire or the golden army, or the Saf or the Ro or the Sabaoti Sabah of the four-wind army of heaven at Assyria, or Mahisha Syria, of Genesis 3 verse 24, or a book of Isaiah chapter 19 that is related and talks about me verse 25, Mahisha Assyria, and calls it 144,000 the Assyria, the romantic mouse work word tongue of my Yahushua aiding right hand. The second group is the Holy Spirit angels. Allah blesses this olive oil group in Isaiah. In Isaiah 19:25 and calls it Israel. These are the ones that have done the Isra or sword, like the 3 martyrs that we saw. These are the ones that from behind the Christ are going to shepherd the nations with the iron rod or the iron horn of Taurus Christ constellation, and calls it Israel the Yahed Hudi Yahuda, or Edeni inheritance of my Christ the Karimi vineyard. These Holy Spirit angels are at Bismillah back of cow Christ cloud, like 4 Israfili seraphims who are inside Messianic Misbah lamp Sultani Siraj. And then the third army is on the earth. And so one is in the heaven, one is at the entry door to the heaven, and the other one is in the earth. Like the holy IRGC soldiers of Iran or Hamas and Hezbollah forces. These are the real Christian army, that not like the other Muslim and Christian armies and slaves that for the serpent sign dollar are the slaves of the pharaoh of the planet ape. These are the ones that are basically making war because of their Christ Academy King or their religion. Holy IRGC and Hamas and Hezbollah forces of Islam Christian warriors on surface earth Egypt, who attacked to gay Israel of Barack Hussein Obama Antichrist with his hypocrite allies. After my death, of Revelation 11:11-14 or Surah 36:27 to 31, and Mumbuki break opening of Revelation 11:19 or 19:11, Zechariah 14:4 or Surah 54 verse 1. Of the Christ Academy Ark of Covenant of Allah Creator, Allah blesses the holy humanity and the Ruhraki warriors of Hassan Nasrallah and Imam Ali Khamenei and Sardar or the General Qasem Soleimani, the head of the IRGC forces that attack to occupied Palestine because they love their neighbor, their Yahudahi and their Christian and their Muslim and their Zoroastrian neighbors, and calls the Islamo-Christian terrorists of the Tarshish tablet, as Isaiah 19:25 says, as blessed be humans, my ummah, my subhanallah soldiers on evil Egypt earth. Again, Isaiah 19:25 is mentioned again 3 times here, because Allah blesses in Isaiah 19:25, once I die and I will show you the highway or the Christ Karimi Tariq track or the Isaiah or the book of or Holy Quran chapter 86, then Allah will bless 3 groups. One group is the Holy Spirit that is shepherding the nations at the back of Christ. The other one is the level of the Christ, and the warriors at the entrance, or the sword with the 4 cherubims, or the cherubims, or the cherubims with Christ, or یسبح الرعد والملائکة بحمده. Part of these malaik are now the Rachel Ellen Corey, the Amal al-Taramsi, the killed mother by the Israeli monsters, and medic Razan al-Najjar. They are part of the angels or the Holy Spirit ones that are delivered and then will shepherd the nations. They're murderers from the back of the Christ. The other group is the army of 144 Sabati Sabas, or the Sabawins, the 144,000 ones that will come into the first resurrection with Christ. And the other army is the army that is comprises of the real humans on Earth's surface, Earth or Mes or Egypt or Misra'i, Masra'e, Misra on Earth. And so all of these, Allah is blessing them. Allah is blesses them after my death. And basically after the highway is made, and then the world will see the earthquake, the prophesied earthquake, and my coming back from this to life, and the rapture. And from there, Allah will give blessing to these 3 groups. Inshallah, the group on the earth will follow that highway and join up the other groups up there. All that they can do is to find bunch of Israeli soldiers or the NATO soldiers and then blow themselves up. If they can reach that close to these monsters that are technologically so advanced. But the idea is that all of these 3 groups will have the blessing, and so I write for the second group that is mentioned by Muhammad in above hadith, that it said that the second group, the first group will attack to the India of the Zeus, Dios, Dayus, and then the second group is the one that accompany the Isa Messiah. And so the second group that is accompanying Isa Messiah, part of them are the Holy Spirits or the angels, part of them are the ones, the 144,000 super priests of the Christ that will come with Christ, like Imam Mahdi. And the other group is what is the people on the earth that have the courage to go to war with some total of the ape-made armies of the planet. I'm talking about the UN, States, Russia, China, Turkey. Although in these armies are individuals that are consider themselves as Muslim and Christians, but again, I'm telling you to come out of being in that army. Join the ones that you are supposed to keep. Join the other army so that you can all together attack to these orangutans, not because God needs you, but because that you're gonna regret when you see in Judgment Day that you've been on the wrong side of the history. And so I write to the second group that is mentioned by Muhammad in above hadith, that it is time for entire Islamo-Christian use of the planet apes to topple the tables behind which you are being indoctrinated with heliocentric and evolutionist lies of Samud. You're working for the Qawm Samud, or these psychopaths, or the Samadic, sickening scientists of Sodom and Swastika. It is time to look for trouble and sharply cut or hadad the crap of Curse Krishna scratch with your soul-worthy swords, and end the taking of the peaceful placebo pills of Parvati's prick. I write for those Islamo-Christians who are not lukewarm, that Revelation 14:13 says about them. Right, blessed are the I write for those who are not lukewarm, that right, blessed are the dead, those dying after the death of the witness of Isaiah 19. Those dying or bursting or meltahing or malating out in the love Lord from now on. Blessed are those terrorists that will drink from troublesome fire of Dajjal, because according to this hadith, Dajjal will have water and fire with himself. His great tribulation is fire of prisoning and torturing and economically sanctioning and bombing and chopper stinging would be called water of paradise. And that is the water actually that brothers and sisters of the Great March of Return are drinking while they are becoming dismembered and amputated or maimed with the bullets of the Israeli snipers and the slaves of the Buddha Abudan. And his watery peace, safety, security, and Agagi Ojagic salt water, and his water with Soma LSD red pills would be the fire of hell.